I'm here with Cheryl. Cheryl's a mom to 5. Her husband's name is Josie. You guys have been married for 19 years. And you have 2 biological children and 3 adopted.
That's right.
Little girls. So we'll talk about that. I have struggled knowing where to start this interview, start my questions for you. But I guess, was fostering always a plan for you guys, or did that come later?
No, it was not a plan. It wasn't even on the radar. We got married and, wanted to have a family. Originally thought we'd have 4 kids. And then after having our second, I decided that 2 was plenty. I didn't like being pregnant.
Amen.
Pretty miserable for me. So we thought we were done and we're fine with it. And then down the road, oh gosh, maybe 5 years. It might have been about 5, Dane, when we started talking about friends who were fostering. Or adopting, or doing application processes to adopt from Ethiopia, things like that. But still, we weren't looking at it as something we were interested in. It was just more, we knew people, and it was opening up a conversation. It wasn't until actually we had a friend whose daughter was in a situation where we were presented with the opportunity of, well, what if she needs help with the baby? And we thought, well, if we would be willing to help a friend out, then why would we not help other kids? So at that point, people had come into our life, and we just had little deposits of interactions with people who did foster care, and it had just opened up a dialogue that we hadn't had before. And before we knew it, we were filling out paperwork.
Wow. So my understanding is, and tell me if this is incorrect, that some people seem to get into fostering to be a soft landing place for kids and be a safe place, but it's temporary. And some people get into fostering with the intent to adopt. Is that a fair assessment?
It is fair.
And where were you guys on that?
I mean, if you look at it from the state's perspective, the goal is always reunification with the biological family. But there are families who, want to adopt a child. Private adoption maybe is too spendy, or just not the route that they want to go. And so they go into foster care. But for us, it was a little bit of both. It was a willingness to adopt if the case came to that point. Not, saying, oh, they need to go somewhere else at that point. But really, we wanted to keep siblings together is what we wanted to do. So as we got licensed and went through the education process with foster care, and we're moving towards having our license, we kind of narrowed that down. But we didn't care what age necessarily. We told the licensor we want sibling sets, which we were thinking 2. We weren't siblings to us was like 2 kids. We weren't thinking bigger than that. And we said, we're far from major hospitals, so medically fragile and infants maybe are not our priority. There's plenty of people who want to foster babies. And so that was what we said, and then we ate our words.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because our very first placement was newborn medically fragile triplets.
Oh my gosh. Tell me about medically fragile and meeting the triplets and bringing them home. What was that process?
So for them, medically fragile just meant that we brought home one home on oxygen. They all had some digestive issues. Were on medications to speed up their digestion.
At what point were they delivered? How many weeks?
32 weeks and 5 days.
So that's pretty good for triplets.
Yes, but it is good for triplets.
Yeah,
it's pretty average for triplets, actually. They were born 2, 3, and 4 pounds, and so we didn't get to meet them until it was time to bring them home from the hospital. We were only able to bring home 2 of the 3 the first week because the littlest one just wasn't quite ready to leave the hospital. But we brought Amelia home on oxygen, and all 3 of them had severe reflux and swallowing issues. So they were on thickened formula and 3 different medications for their reflux and their digestive issues. And then about 4 months down the road, one ended up back on a feeding tube for a period of time. So we were in Spokane more days of the week than we were at home for physical therapy, occupational therapy, feeding therapy, visitations with biological parents, court dates, and pediatrician appointments, and gastroenterology appointments.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It was a lot.
I don't even know what to ask after that. That just sounds so overwhelming.
Yes. Overwhelming is a good word.
Yeah, holy cow. So how do you still meet the needs of your 8 and 10-year-old when you have
Yes.
3 newborn high need babies?
It was very difficult, but I think because we had some a little bit of adversity, at least spoken to us, like, you know, we don't support you doing this, or we're worried, you know, that the other kids are gonna miss out if you foster. You know, just the common concerns that well-meaning family and friends have.
Okay.
Not everyone understands why someone would choose to bring someone else's kids into their home, and
Yeah.
I understand it's usually well-meaning. Your family's concerned, you know.
Yeah.
But I think because of that, I'm kind of someone who digs my heels in harder and wants to prove that that's not going to happen. And so we dug in, and it was hard, but we made a goal that we didn't want their life to look drastically different because we chose to have more children. And it would have been the same if we had more children biologically or through adoption.
Sure.
You know, there's nothing wrong with having a big family, and I feel like society looks down upon big families anymore.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating. So we just dug in harder, and we made sure we made it to their basketball games, their volleyball games, their baseball games. At the very first soccer games, the girls were still tiny babies, and I had them in snowsuits, and we carried an oxygen tank and a feeding tube bag, and we sat out there on the field and watched the soccer game. And just passed babies around from arm to arm, and that's how we've survived the last 5 years, is doling them out during sports.
Yeah.
Go see your friend over here, and I take a bag of tricks everywhere I go for them to play with and color, and we've just made sure that the kids don't feel like we've given up on other opportunities. We've taken family vacations. We've made it to most of their things.
That's cool. Well, that's such a hard balance to find, that like a sibling is one of the greatest gifts you can give your children.
Right.
But it also, you've got to make sure it's not taking away from them as well.
Right.
And so,
Not that there wasn't times that I
it's
cried
hard.
and thought, is this, you know, are we doing the right thing? And
I bet.
and I don't feel like I'm enough, and there's not enough of me to go around. I don't feel like there's ever enough of me to go around still.
So tell me about that fostering period. I mean, you said the state's goal is always
Yes, reunification.
reunification. So tell me about that, and visitation with mom, and
Yeah.
how that worked.
To say that it was easy would be a huge lie.
Okay.
You fall in love with the kids pretty instantly. For my husband, it was instant. For me, it was about a weekend where I had to decide that it was necessary, because I couldn't survive parenting triplets
Okay.
with a guard up.
Yeah.
Because and the guard was only there because of the situation.
Because they might be leaving.
Yeah. So at that point, there had to be a commitment to, we're in this, you know,
Right.
head over heels. We just got to do it. I'll tear up. I tear up easily.
At the risk of heartbreak later on, you
Yeah.
had to commit to that. Yeah.
Had to commit. So I've told people I spent probably more time with BioMom that first year than my friends because we were because we lived so far out. The typical things that happen with foster care, where you put the kids in a car and they just get driven to a visit and then they magically arrive back home, you know, 2 hours later, that didn't happen.
Is it possible? Yeah.
It probably could have, but logistically it would have been a nightmare.
Okay.
and they were my babies, and I wasn't going to put them in the car with a stranger and have them travel an hour each way to go to these appointments multiple times a week. So thankfully I stayed home. So I would drive them. I would sit down the hall in the visitation center while one baby at a time rotated down to visit for 45 minutes. And then while that was occurring, I would have two babies doing their therapy appointments. The therapists would come to me. I had a dietitian, and I had the feeding therapist, and I had the occupational therapist that would meet me there, and we would tend to the two babies, evaluations and weight and measure and all of that, adjust their feeding needs. There was always every week their diet changed as far as like how many calories they needed in their bottle and how many scoops of thickener per baby. Each baby had a different nipple for their bottle. It was a lot. So we would readjust that and evaluate that every week during those visitations.
Okay.
So it was a lot. I mean, I was carrying in rock and plays, boppies, 3 babies, a double stroller while carrying the third stroller, and and just constant sweat all the time.
Yeah, I guess so. Holy cow. So,
and that was just visits. There was, medical appointments too. Because how much you go to the doctor just with one baby.
Sure.
The first year of life, you're there. It seems like all the time.
Right.
So yeah, we were always at a doctor's appointment, or we were always at an imaging appointment to check on their reflux and different things at Sacred Heart. So yeah, I spent a lot of time alongside the biological mom. She was rare in that she actually came to a lot of appointments and didn't flake out on visitations and things for the first year. And then the biological father was not in the picture. He was incarcerated, so that didn't change until later in the case.
Then what kind of adoption? Do you have an open adoption? Is there still contact with biological mom?
There is not contact right now.
Okay.
And being careful and respectful of what I say on something that's going to be on the internet. I liked their biological mom as a person. When it came time that the rights were going to be terminated for the parents, we offered an open adoption agreement, and they both agreed, and we laid out the terms for each of them, but there hasn't been any follow through on their side.
Okay. So you were doing visitations with biological mom, and then at what point was it clear that adoption was possible for
right around
your
a
family?
year, she had a conversation with me and asked if we would be willing to adopt them.
Okay.
And of course we said we love them and we would do that, and that we would work with her, and I talked with her about it for probably half an hour in the parking lot at the therapy center, and then we didn't see her again for a period of time. But then it's pretty common. I don't know what happened, but visits started back up with both of the biological parents at that point. And then we went through a really hard time for the girls. We had to have a behavioral therapist, and the girls were self-harming. I mean, they were under 2. They were biting themselves and banging their heads into the crib and the wall and the floor until they bruised. So we had a behavioral therapist helping with that. And so that was probably the hardest time for us as parents, was watching something we couldn't control.
Yeah.
And then the courts had determined right around the same time, same 6-month time frame, that the case was going to termination of parental rights. So that's right around age 2 was when we signed an agreement with them.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, they were adopted in August, so they would have been just a couple months over age 2 when we actually had our adoption day.
Okay. So at that point, does anything change?
No.
Does it feel any different? Does life change at all? Or is it just...
It feels more secure. I mean,
Okay.
that you have forever. That weight being lifted off of worry for their future. So yeah, I mean, that felt different, but it didn't feel different on adoption day. It felt different when we know we had come to an agreement.
Okay.
That was really, the adoption day was just, like a confirmation of what we knew.
Okay.
But does it change how we feel about them and anything? No, I mean, that's been the same since we brought them home.
So this has obviously been a beautiful, positive experience for your family overall in receiving these 3 girls. Do you feel like adoption or fostering is something that everyone would benefit from? Or do you feel like only certain people are equipped for this?
That is a tough question. I used to think anybody can do it. And you even hear a foster advocate say, anybody can do it. I feel like it kind of ate me alive.
Really?
Even though we have this beautiful story and we have the most wonderful outcome, and I would do it all over again, even knowing what I know now, I would go back and do it all over again to have the triplets.
Yeah, the girls, yeah.
It was really difficult, the most emotional thing that I've ever experienced. So I don't think everybody can do it.
Yeah.
What I do think is that everybody can help the foster family, though. And we were so blessed. I know a lot of foster families will say, where's everybody who said they were going to help? They're not here. Or, we need help with childcare. We're stressed. We could use a date night. And they don't have that community. And I think it's partly where we live.
Sure.
Rural America just is a tight-knit thing. But I grew up here, so I also know pretty much everybody in every town around. From the moment we brought them home, I think the very day, my mind is pretty much a fog from the first year.
Yeah.
But I think the very day we brought them home, we had bag after bag of clothing. People in Oakstale heard we were bringing home triplets, and they gathered up as much as hand-me-downs as they could and just dropped it off on our doorstep with casseroles. We didn't cook for the first 6 months. I had friends from here to Spokane who miraculously, total God thing, we would be running out of freezer meals, and I had one particular friend in Spokane who would just call me and say, are you coming up this week? I have a whole bunch of freezer meals in my freezer that my friends have made for you, people I didn't even know. And she would just meet me in a parking lot and switch it into my cooler and send me on my way. So for about 6 months, we really didn't cook. Started living off paper plates, so we didn't have as many dishes to do. And yeah, the community just rallied around us. So I feel like that's where people, if they don't feel called to actually bring children into their home, or they're not sure they can do it, then see another way that they can help. Babysitting would be huge. It used to be that you had to be a licensed foster parent to babysit foster children, but it's not anymore. As long as it's not beyond, I think like 72 hours or something.
Okay.
You can help out a foster family by babysitting, and sometimes that's what they need the most, is just time for husband and wife to go out to dinner, because not only do you have more kids in your house, but you have the weight of what's happened in their life and what's happening in their case, and frustrations when things don't look how you think they should, for their sake. And so it's just really good to be able to get away and process.
Okay, so the foster care system and adoption process, I think most people can acknowledge that there are problems with it. But it gets a pretty bad rap a lot of the time right now. So in your opinion, what's the foster care system like? What are the main problems?
I think it's very broken.
Okay.
I mean, I don't feel like I know what the answer is. I don't know how is there a better way to keep kids safe with the goal of reuniting them with their family. I think from a lot of foster parents' perspective, the biological parents just get too many chances.
Okay.
I'm sure that's not their perspective, and
Yeah.
I'm sure it wouldn't be mine if someone took my children, you know. But when cases drag on for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I've heard of cases lasting 7 years. Or when you see a kid who is taken from the only home they've ever known for 3 years of their life since birth, and given to another family member, or given back to parents at that point, it's absolutely devastating. And so that's where I feel like there needs to be work. They have timelines that are supposed to be met, and yet they're not. Time and time again, it drags on, because oftentimes the biological parents can do just enough. They can't terminate their rights, but they also can't give the kids back, so the case just drags on and drags on and drags on to the detriment of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it's broken. There needs to be things changed. The caseworkers are completely overloaded. There's regulations. They're only supposed to have so many cases per person. It's usually double, sometimes triple the caseload that they're supposed to have, and there's just no way that they can keep up.
Right.
So the most wonderful part, we had great social workers. I don't have anything bad to say about our social workers. We had 3 different ones throughout the course of the case. I guess 4 if you count the adoption worker. And we loved all of them. I've maintained a relationship with a couple of them. But the guardian ad litem is often the best advocate, which is what they're supposed to be, right? They're the child's advocate. And I don't know what we would have done without our advocate. She was amazing. And I hear from a lot of foster parents that their guardian ad litems or CASAs they're like, the one fighting the hardest. So,
Wow.
yeah. And that CASA is a volunteer position. It's a court-appointed special advocate. Of course, you have to go through a lot of training, but it's volunteer. Guardian ad litem is a paid position, but they're very similar. They're the child's advocates, the child's voice in the courtroom.
Okay.
So they come to the house and take notes, and ours came to medical appointments with me, and watched interactions and how things were going, and they'd go to the visits occasionally, and then they take that to court.
Okay.
They can speak on what's the best interest of the child.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This
Yeah.
has been really fascinating to learn more about this process. You ready for a speed run?
I think so. I
Okay.
went over the questions last night.
Okay. Cheryl, what's your favorite sound?
Oh, I have a few. Silence.
Amen.
And happy laughter of my kids.
Okay. What's your least favorite sound?
Any kind of a buzzer.
Okay.
Like the buzzer in a gym, or the alarm clock sound.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any loud, sudden noise.
Okay.
I'm a fan.
That's fair. What's your favorite word?
This one I was having a hard time with. My favorite word would be something silly like shenanigans or billabong, just because I like funny things. Yeah.
Cheryl, what do you know?
No, that God works all things together for good.
I love that. What do you want to learn?
That was hard for me too. I've always had a desire to do like hobby photography. So I suppose that's still something I want to learn.
Cool.
I'm very amateur. I know some stuff, but I've never taken the time to work on it.
Cool. Maybe someday when
Yay, someday.
you'll have little
Yeah.
tiny triplet
When
people.
I'm not so
Yeah.
By then I'll have grandkids.
I guess so. You can take pictures of them.
Yeah.
What scares you?
Anything I can't control.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Tell me about a mom that inspires you.
My grandma. She died on the 4th of July this year. But she was my inspiration for pretty much everything.
Wow.
Be a good wife and mom and cook.
What a legacy. So like, that's cool. Tell me what you're good at.
Well, I'm a fitness instructor,
Oh, cool.
and I feel like I'm pretty good at that. Pretty good at Zumba. And I'm a good friend. I'm good at being mom. I'm a good cook. My husband's in.
All good things.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.